Zeus and Hera are not only a powerful couple but also sharp strategic rivals. Each battle of wits between them is not just a test of strength but also a contest of intellect, cleverness, and even cunning, creating fascinating and humorous stories in Greek mythology. The Battle of Wits for Olympus Power. On Mount Olympus, Zeus sat firmly on his throne, one hand holding a goblet of ambrosia, the other stroking his beard as he glanced at the gods with a smug expression. Every day was the same for Zeus, drinking, randomly throwing lightning bolts, and giving orders everywhere. Hera was growing increasingly frustrated with this. She spent so much time ensuring Olympus ran smoothly, while Zeus only enjoyed flaunting his power with deafening thunderbolts. Hera decided it was time for Zeus to understand that ruling wasn't just about sitting on a throne and flexing muscles. I challenge you to a battle of wits. For one day, whoever manages Olympus better will be the winner. Hera declared, her eyes gleaming with calculated determination. Zeus laughed loudly, "Ha! You think you can manage Olympus better than me? With just a snap of my fingers, everything will run perfectly." Hera smiled mysteriously, as if she already had a plan in place. The gods of Olympus buzzed with excitement, eagerly anticipating this historic showdown. The next morning, the challenge began. Zeus took charge for the first half of the day. His strategy was simple: yell loudly, throw lightning bolts, and intimidate. Anyone working too slowly? Lightning. Anyone complaining? More lightning. Anyone disobedient? Thunderstorms immediately. Hermes, who was running errands for Zeus, was a few minutes late because of his overwhelming workload. Zeus zapped him. Poseidon submitted a request for calmer weather patterns. Zeus denied it outright. Hades asked if he could increase funding to improve the underworld. Zeus laughed and ignored him. Under Zeus's rule, Olympus descended into chaos. The gods were both terrified and furious. Dark clouds blanketed the sky from the excessive lightning, while humans below panicked at the sudden earthquakes and unpredictable storms. After a few hours, Zeus realized managing a world wasn't as simple as tossing lightning around. Yet, he still held his head high, convinced he was doing a great job. Then came Hera's turn. She didn't need to shout or hurl lightning bolts. Instead, she used a calm, strategic approach. First, she called a meeting with all the gods to listen to their concerns. No one was punished. Hera tactfully persuaded Poseidon to manage the seas more harmoniously, reducing floods. She suggested Hades build rest areas for souls instead of focusing solely on making the underworld more terrifying. Hermes was no longer overloaded with pointless errands and was even rewarded for his hard work. Within hours, Olympus became more peaceful and efficient than ever. The gods began rallying behind Hera. Zeus, seeing this, felt uneasy. Could she really be better than me? He muttered, sipping his wine, which no longer tasted as good. By the end of the day, all the gods unanimously agreed, Hera was the better leader. Zeus, though reluctant, had to admit that brute force alone wasn't enough to rule Olympus. He nodded toward Hera and said, "All right, I admit you're better at managing things. But I'm still the king of Olympus." Hera smiled softly, sipped her wine, and replied, "Of course, my dear Zeus. But at least now you understand what true leadership means." And so, Zeus kept his throne, but from that day on, he never underestimated Hera's leadership skills again. Zeus thought being the boss was easy, but he learned that strength alone couldn't govern Olympus. Maybe he realized a valuable lesson: sometimes, you don't need lightning bolts to solve problems. Poseidon and Hades also had their fair share of suffering whenever Zeus tried to show off his power. Poor gods, every time Zeus wanted to flex, they bore the brunt of it. This epic battle of wits could rightfully be called Hera versus Zeus, who's the better CEO? A legendary showdown in Olympus history, where power no longer belonged to the strongest but to the wisest. Zeus and Hera's bet of wits. On Mount Olympus, Zeus and Hera once again found themselves in a heated debate. This time, the issue wasn't about who was more powerful but who was more intelligent. Hera, the goddess of cunning and strategy, proudly claimed that her clever plans kept Olympus running smoothly. Zeus, though famous for his strength, wasn't willing to admit that his wife might be smarter than him. "You think you're smarter than me?" Zeus rested his chin on his hand, raising an eyebrow in challenge. Hera smiled, crossed her arms, and said, "You may be the king of the gods, but intelligence is something you rarely use." The surrounding gods murmured excitedly. This was shaping up to be an entertaining contest. "All right. Let's make a bet to see who's smarter." We'll each ask 3 riddles, and whoever solves more wins. Zeus declared. Hera nodded, confident. On Olympus, the audience eagerly prepared to witness a legendary battle of wits. Hera went first, knowing Zeus disliked complex riddles, so she crafted some truly tricky ones. Riddle 1, if a ship full of gold sinks to the bottom of the sea, what does it become? Zeus furrowed his brow, thinking hard. After a long pause, he shrugged and said, gold is still gold. It doesn't become anything else. Hera laughed. Exactly. But you did take quite a while to figure it out. Riddle 2, I can have everything, but if I share it, I'm left with nothing. What am I? Zeus scratched his head. He looked down at Olympus, then up at the sky. Hermes whistled, trying to hint at the answer, but Zeus just couldn't figure it out. Time's up. Hera announced, the answer is, a secret. Zeus scowled. How was I supposed to know that? I never keep secrets. Hera giggled, while the gods around them tried to stifle their laughter. Riddle 3, what moves forward but never goes back? Zeus squinted, deep in thought. Suddenly, he burst out laughing. Easy. That's Hera when she's angry. Once she's mad, there's no turning back. Hera shook her head. Wrong. The answer is, time. Zeus shrugged. Same difference. Hera won the first round 2-1. Now it was Zeus's turn. He wasn't exactly a master of riddles, so he decided to craft his questions Zeus style, bold, dramatic, and with a touch of thunder. Riddle 1, what can make all of Olympus tremble, yet I can control it? Hera smiled knowingly. Lightning. Too easy, Zeus. Zeus grumbled. All right, fine, you got that one. But the next one won't be so easy. Riddle 2, a rooster lays an egg on a slanted roof. Which way does the egg roll? Hera frowned, deep in thought. Suddenly, her eyes lit up with suspicion. Wait a minute, roosters don't lay eggs. Zeus froze for a second, then groaned. Ugh, right. Well played, Hera. The gods roared with laughter. It seemed Zeus had outsmarted himself this time. Riddle 3, if I throw a spear with all my strength, what will happen? Hera narrowed her eyes. Is this a trick question, Zeus? Zeus smirked. Not at all. Just think carefully. Hera pondered for a moment, then smiled. If you throw a spear with all your strength, you'll lose a spear. Zeus's jaw dropped. He hadn't expected such a simple, yet perfectly accurate answer. Incredible, you really are brilliant, he admitted, raising his hands in surrender. Final score, Hera 4, Zeus 2. Zeus shook his head, looking at Hera with a mix of admiration and disbelief. All right, fine. I admit you're smarter. But remember, I'm still the king of Olympus. Hera sipped her wine with a sly grin. Of course, my dear Zeus. But remind me, who's the one actually keeping Olympus in order? Zeus gave a sheepish chuckle. After all, even if he lost the battle of wits, he was still king, at least in name. Zeus played the game like a race, whoever answered fastest won. Hera played it like chess, whoever used their brain won. In the end, who was the real genius here? Hera clearly outsmarted Zeus, but Zeus was still the boss. The moral of the story? Never bet on brains with someone who's been outsmarting you for 1,000 years. Poor Zeus, after all this time, he really should have seen it coming. The beauty contest between Zeus and Hera. On Mount Olympus, on a day as beautiful as any other, Zeus sat on his golden throne, stroking his majestic beard and admiring his reflection in a massive golden mirror. Hera, my dear, do you see this? I'm truly too handsome for my own good. The commanding aura, the powerful beard, the eyes that sparkle like lightning. I must be the most handsome god on Olympus. Zeus boasted. Hera, lounging with a glass of ambrosia wine in hand, glanced up at Zeus and burst out laughing. You? The most handsome god on Olympus? Oh, please, my dear Zeus, if there's anyone here who deserves that title, it's definitely me. Zeus crossed his arms and narrowed his eyes. And what makes you so sure? Hera shrugged casually. I'm the goddess of marriage and the queen of the gods. My grace and charm have captivated many. Do you really think you can compare with me? The gods around them started whispering excitedly. A debate like this was never settled with mere words. And so, the Great Olympus Beauty Contest was born. To ensure fairness, 3 gods were chosen as judges: Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty; Apollo, the god of light and art; Hermes, the god of diplomacy, and maybe a little trickery. The rules were simple: each contestant had time to prepare and then present themselves. The winner would be the one who received the most admiration from the crowd. Zeus grinned confidently. "One look at me, and everyone will see my magnificence. Get ready to lose, Hera." Hera took a sip of her wine and smiled serenely. "We'll see, Zeus. We'll see." Zeus's grand entrance. Zeus, true to his dramatic style, decided to overwhelm the audience right from the start. He arrived on a chariot of roaring thunder, his cloak billowing behind him. His beard, meticulously groomed, shimmered with electric sparks. In the sky, dark clouds swirled, and lightning bolts exploded like fireworks. Sacred lions roared in unison, adding to the spectacle. Zeus raised his hand and declared, "Behold the unmatched splendor of the king of Olympus." The gods stared, wide-eyed. Zeus certainly looked majestic, but beautiful? That was still up for debate. Apollo cleared his throat. Impressive, yes. But perhaps, a bit too intense? Hermes tilted his head. Honestly, if this were a contest for most terrifying god, Zeus would win hands down. Zeus frowned, visibly irritated. This is the embodiment of masculine power. The beauty of dominance. Aphrodite gave a polite smile. Beauty isn't just about power, Zeus. It's also about charm. Zeus grumbled but held his tongue. Fine. Let's see what Hera has to offer. Hera's elegant appearance. Hera didn't need thunder, lightning, or roaring beasts. She stepped into the arena, dressed in a gown of shimmering gold and silver. Her hair glimmered like dawn's first light. Each graceful step radiated quiet authority. Behind her, her sacred peacock spread its tail, creating a glowing halo of iridescent colors. The air grew cool and fragrant, wrapping the crowd in a gentle, soothing aura. She smiled softly and said, "True beauty doesn't need to shout for attention. It simply exists." The gods were stunned. For a moment, there was complete silence, then came thunderous applause. Apollo nodded. "Elegant and captivating." Hermes whistled. "I mean, well. Hera has that undeniable queenly vibe." Aphrodite smiled and announced, "And the winner of Olympus's beauty contest is Hera." Zeus's reaction. Zeus gaped at the cheering crowd. "Wait. I lost? But I'm the king of Olympus." Hera gently patted Zeus's shoulder. "Don't worry, dear. You're still the strongest god. But when it comes to beauty, well, that's my domain." The gods roared with laughter. Zeus folded his arms and pouted. He couldn't deny it, Hera had won fair and square. Finally, with a heavy sigh, he muttered, "Fine. I lost. But hey, I still have the most magnificent beard on Olympus." Hera chuckled. "Of course, my dear Zeus. No one would dare challenge you for that title." Hearing that, Zeus brightened immediately, sitting a little taller, with a proud smirk. Moral of the story, Zeus thought loud and impressive meant handsome. It didn't. He forgot that beauty doesn't always need thunder to leave an impression. Hera won with grace, poise, and effortless charm. When you have the aura of a queen, you don't need flashy effects. Zeus, despite losing, still proudly claimed the title of best beard on Olympus. It was a clever way to save face. After all, who would want to compete for that? The takeaway: if you want to protect your pride, find a title no one else cares about, like Zeus and his unbeatable beard. In the end, on Mount Olympus, thunder may roar, but true power doesn't need to shout.